Alright, so in today's video, I want to talk about microbrand watches. And the reason why I want to talk about microbrands today is because I recently purchased my first ever microbrand watch. It is the Serica 4512, which I'll get to in a bit later in this video. But yeah, despite being a watch fanatic for years and years and seeing obviously tons of articles and tons of YouTube videos on different microbrands and their watches, it really has taken me a long time to finally pull the trigger on one. And so in today's video, I want to talk about really how I became someone who was willing to buy a microbrand watch and really what my original hesitations were. So yes, like I said just a second ago, despite being a watch fan for many years now, it has been a long journey to actually get myself a microbrand watch. And I wanted to start by touching on why I had an initial hesitation towards buying microbrands. So I think honestly, the number one main reason why I was hesitant to buy a microbrand watch really comes down to longevity. I always had this sort of strange fear that I would buy a microbrand watch and years down the line, I would have some kind of an issue or need some part that was, wrong with the watch, and that brand may no longer exist and I would not have the help I needed. Despite any shortcomings of some of the larger brands and conglomerates out there, I think the one thing at the very least you can say is that they are all very well established and have a very good part network and service capabilities. So if you have any issues in the future, they're going to be there, which again, I was just not so sure about with some of these smaller brands that are so new. And so yes, that longevity piece, that long-term servicing and parts concern was my initial hesitation, but that kind of brings me into the three reasons I was able to kind of change my mindset to finally accept microbrand watches as parts of my potential future collections. And so first and foremost, I want to touch on that longevity piece because I really feel like a lot of microbrands have sort of dispelled that fear as of the last couple of years. I don't want to speak for every microbrand because obviously they're all a bit different, but it feels like a lot of the bigger microbrands out there truly have established themselves to have great staying power within the industry. They have, cult followings, really unique designs. And so again, I think the fears of them going away anytime soon don't generally exist for, again, some of the bigger and better microbrands out there. I also think it's very important to mention that a lot of these microbrands do generally use mass-used movements, and so there's really less reason to be concerned as far as getting your watches serviced in the future. Obviously, things like random parts like handsets and bezels, could be a problem if these microbrands again either go extinct or just don't have the same part network as other big brands. But again, generally speaking, as far as movements go, which I think we all can agree is generally speaking the most important part of a watch, that really shouldn't be an issue for a lot of these brands. The second reason why I was able to really fully start to embrace microbrand watches was really the idea of finding the right microbrand watch for me. In my case, it is the Serica 4512, which again, I'll get to in a moment. But I think that really gets at the heart of what makes microbrands so special. They can take chances that the big brands simply cannot take. They can cater to a more niche audience and just try different things. And I think that results in more unique designs that, particular enthusiasts can really connect with on a deeper level. Ironically, all it really took was myself finding a microbrand watch that really sat well with me, that I thought was too beautiful to pass up and not have in my collection, and now all of a sudden I'm opened up to the whole world of microbrand watches. The third and final reason I was able to finally fully appreciate microbrand watches was finally getting some hands-on experience with these watches. And to kind of take you back a few months, I actually had the privilege of attending the Wind Up Chicago event, and at this event there were plenty of big box brands that we all know and love and lots of microbrands. I can't really fully put into words what made me change my perspective on microbrand watches completely from that event, but I think it was really just getting a lot of great in-person and hands-on experience with these watches, because it kind of occurred to me in the moment at that event that I had never actually felt in the flesh these microbrand watches before. Despite again watching tons of YouTube videos and reading tons of articles, I had never felt a microbrand watch before in the flesh. And I think again getting some hands-on experience really changed my perspective that these are really high quality products. And I would say in addition to that, getting some face-to-face time with the brand owners and teams was also very enlightening to me. I know it's kind of a classic adage within the microbrand watch space that it's really special to buy from a microbrand because you're buying from a small team or an individual person, but that was really put in perspective to me when I was actually talking to these people. And I just want to say, I don't mean to come off as pretentious or like a watch snob in any way when I talk about microbrands, but I really just want to share my perspective as someone who was very hesitant for very long to buy any watch from any microbrand, as now someone who has fully changed their mind. So without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about the watch that really got me to open my eyes to Microbrand watches, and that is the Serica 4512. So let's take a look at it. So this is the watch that got me to change my mind on Microbrands as a whole. This is the Serica 4512, and this is a bit of an unusual review because they don't actually make this watch anymore. In fact, they actually only make a newer version with a chronometer certified automatic movement, which is the new reference 6190. So I figured we would go ahead and start with the stats and specifications, starting with the dimensions of the Serica 4512. And to begin here, it has a 38mm case diameter, 47mm in lug tip to lug tip, 11.3mm in overall thickness, 20mm in between the lugs, and it is sporting a really nice bond clip metal bracelet. It also has a nice lacquered black dial, a screw down crown with 200 meters of water resistance. It is protected by a sapphire crystal, and most interestingly, it has a STP 111 manual winding caliber movement. I know some may find this manual winding caliber a bit annoying. I know I sometimes don't love having manual winding watches, but at the end of the day, I believe this is a nice homage to the old school military field watches of back in the day. I think all put together, what you have here is a very comfortable and capable field military-esque styled watch. Again, I fell in love with this piece. I love the lacquer dial. I love the broad arrow hands. I love the smooth steel bezel. These are all elements that kind of added up to becoming a very awesome watch that I could not pass up. And again, if you like this watch, I would highly recommend you check out Serica. Their newest model is the 6190 reference, which is basically this watch, but with a chronometer certified automatic movement. And, you know, overall, what I think this watch, and I suppose the newer reference does very well, is, in my opinion, just being a more stylish and more sort of modern day version of the Hamilton Khaki Field Mechanical. I know they make the Hamilton Khaki Field Mechanical to this day. It is a quote unquote modern watch, but I love the sort of flashier elements, right? A proper stainless steel, not bead blasted, some polished surfaces. It makes for a, in my opinion, more versatile watch for the everyday person. And as much as I love talking about this particular Serica 4512, I gotta say this video really isn't about this one particular watch, it's about Microbrands in general. And with that being said, I wanna ask you guys, what is your overall stance on Microbrand watches? Do you share my initial skepticism towards buying Microbrands in general? Do you love Microbrands? Are you somewhere in the middle? Let me know in the comment section down below. And if you are someone who does love Microbrand watches, let me know what is your favorite Microbrand out there. But that's pretty much it for this video. If you enjoyed, I would really appreciate if you can give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. Again, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.